Alright, this video is going to configure our router for as a DHCP server for VLAN 2. It's pretty pretty easy config. We need to create an IP pool for DHCP. IP DHCP pool, pool. Then we put a name. We'll call this the VLAN 2 pool. Now we need to tell it some things. We get the question mark to see what we need to tell it. So we want to tell it what the network number is in the mask. So that's how we tell it what subnet to work for. We're going to want to tell it the default router. That's how we tell the client who to use for the router. And then we want to tell it the domain name. Those are the three things we want to set in here. So network. Our network for VLAN 2 is 10.1.1.0 with a 25-bit mask. Our router, was it default router? Yeah, our default router is going to be 10.1.1.1. And our DNS server, we're going to put 100, 100, 102 for now. Later on, you might need to modify your DNS server that's being given out to be your server once we get that part. So that is the basic requirements for the DHCP server config, but we're going to do one other thing. We're going to exclude some addresses, and you do that outside of the DHCP config, pool config, IP DHCP excluded addresses, and we want to exclude from 10.1.1.1 to 10.1.10.1.1.10. So that's the syntax for this, to exclude some addresses. So now if we look at what we have configured, we have added the excluded addresses, we have created the pool, so now we'll go find our VLAN 2 mint system and test getting an address. So ETH0 is connected to VLAN 2, I believe. Let's go verify that with our diagram. Yes, ETH0 is connected to VLAN 2. So if I turn my ETH0 on, it should hopefully get an IP address from my server, which, hey, check that out. It got an IP address from my server. It got 10.1.1.11, which makes sense because we excluded from 10.1.1.1 to 10.1.1.10. It got a DNS server. So now in theory, if we open our browser on the Mint VM, we should be able to go to www.cnt.lab by domain name to test getting out to the RichNet, and we should also theoretically be able to access the internet through this network as well. So that is the steps to configure the router for a DHCP server and test it using the Mint station connected to VLAN 2.